right now while we have a couple of minutes, if you could, especially the budget. Wait, am I on? Okay. So I was just asking everybody to briefly take a look at the minutes and briefly go over those along with the budget. We'll take a couple minutes so you can all. Does everybody have a copy?
Has everybody signed in? We're starting to do that count right now.
We can take a count either way, either from the sign-in sheet. So if you haven't signed in, please do so, or we can count the numbers. We have to get 55 plus members here to establish our quorum. Okay. Welcome, everybody, and thank you so much for being here. And those of you that are online watching us, thank you as well. So let's go ahead and I'll call the meeting to order, and we'll start off with Pastor Josh in prayer.
Please bow your heads with me. Lord Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to once again come to this place for worship in the unity of your body. We ask that as that forgiveness and grace would be ever present on our lives, that it would be the forefront and the rear guard, that in all things we would look to your coming and your hope as imminent and the most important thing about who we are. We ask that that grace and love would be shared throughout the world and throughout each generation as you would have us go and do. We ask, here we are, send us. In Jesus' precious name, amen.
Thank you. Okay. Can you hear me with a mask on okay? Kind of? Okay. Cool. Okay, so we have established a quorum. I briefly counted 62 people, so we should be okay. So thank you all very much. I'd like to first start off and introduce Janet Mello. She's going to give a presentation to us on the the Legacy Giving Program.
Can I take my mask off? Sure. Okay, thank you. So good morning, everyone. I'm excited to stand here before you with Jeff and Daryl. This program has been 2 years in the making, and we're finally here. We're here to share with you the wonderful news of St. Luke's just newly formed Legacy Giving Program. So what is a legacy gift? A legacy giving contribution is done in advance for a future date, and it's usually transferred through a will or a trust. At St. Luke's, our giving program provides donors the opportunity to make a lasting gift to the Lord, which provides strength and sustainable growth for the future of our church. The appointed Legacy and Council members are myself, Daryl, and Jeff. We report to and are overseen by the Church Council. I am the Legacy Giving Officer, and my contact information can be seen on the church's website. We have now included a legacy giving piece in the website. It has a lot more information regarding the program, and my contact information can be found there as well. So after the meeting, I'll be in the back, and I have a brochure if anybody's interested in that information, and I'm happy to answer any questions. So we look forward to speaking with you. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. So briefly, before we go on to the minutes, It was brought to my attention by a member that they like to have the opportunity to have the minutes read aloud. So before we make a motion to waive the reading of the minutes, I'd like to see if anybody here would actually want to have the minutes read today. And then we can go forward with making a motion to have the minutes waived, the reading of the minutes. So then at this time, we're going to need to have a motion to accept the, yes, Kim? Second it. All in favor of waiving the readings of the minutes, signal by raising your right hand, please. Any opposed? Thank you. One thing I'd like to say real quick, the reason I'm doing that instead of the ayes and the hands and some other changes in the meeting today is we are being videoed and streamed live. So I'm asking you also that when you stand up to make a motion, which I'm sorry I didn't do that for Kim then, please signify by saying your name so it can be recorded. Our secretary is not here today, Scott Gross, and he's going to be writing the minutes based on this video. So if you would do that, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Yes. Okay. We do. I know Tom has one. We have another one. And John? Jenny Tlur seconded that motion after Kim started it, and it passed. So thank you all very much. Okay, so I'd like to, at this time, since we voted on those to pass, I'd like to turn the mic over to Kim for our update financial report, and then we'll go right into the budget. Yes.
Did we actually approve the minutes, or did we just waive the reading?
Oh, we waived, I'm sorry, we waived, getting ahead of myself. We waived the reading, so now we need a motion to approve the minutes as written. Sorry, thank you, Vicki. Nancy? Oh. Little green button.
Nancy O'Brien. I make a motion to accept the minutes as they are printed out.
Brittany, do you want us to leave these live or just keep turning them on and off?
I can mute and unmute if that's what you guys want to do.
Okay.
We'll wait for Kathy to finish that. Our background noise.
Work comes before meetings.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the minutes. All in signify by raising your right hand. Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Now I can turn it over to Kim.
Thank you, Sean. I'm going to start out by just discussing a little bit about the process of going to the budget, and then we'll go through this year's activities, and then we'll go through the 2022 proposed budget. The gentlemen on the executive council, John, Sean, Tom, and Scott, we were on a Zoom meeting for over 2 hours at the beginning of last month, going over each and every line item. We prayerfully thought about every single decision we made. We presented it to the church council last month also, and again, another 2-hour discussion going over everything. I would like to thank everybody for the time that they put into going over this with me. I also like to thank Charisse. She actually did some research for us when it came to determining salaries. She did a salary study for us in the local area among other churches in the area. So all of our decisions were based on that. So that being said, if you want to look at your budgets, the 2021 year-to-date actuals, they should probably have date on it. September 30th. We have not gone over the Octobers yet, so this is for the first 3 quarters of the year. Contributions came in at just over $412,000. If you notice, there's a minus for world missions. That is really not world missions. That's money that's come in for the Dixie Fire Project, and that has been spent down some this month. I believe that the balance of the end of the month is about $6,000 that we still have not spent, but it will be spent by the end of December. Education, again, looks like we're going to be way under budget. And that's mainly because during 2021, we have been restricted on what we can do and what we can't do by governor's mandates and other things. So, but we did use the 2021 estimate for estimating for next year. Audiovisual, the only question that anybody really had on that was about the handbells. Why was it so high this year, and why is it going to be high next year? They had to order some new tables, so we had to invest in our handbell ministry. So that's why we have 1145 this year, and we're going to have about 1,500 next year. Congregation functions. Obviously, we're going to be way under budget because, again, we weren't able to do a lot of things. Although this does not include anything for the trunk or treat, which apparently was a huge success. So that will be reflected when we do the year end, but it's not reflected in here yet. Looks like everything is still coming in under budget. Operating and maintenance. We're still under budget by about $6,000 for the year. Office business, property requirements. If anybody has any questions as we're going through all of this, please raise your hands, because this is all just things that have happened throughout this year. Salaries, these were based on the meeting in June, where we gave everybody raises. And the retroactive pay was actually done last June. You notice we still do have a placeholder for Christian education. We'll be talking about that later. And then we have the health insurance, which is basically for our pastor and our business administrator. Workers' comp, which is for everybody. And then we have the benefits, retirement, that is for Pastor Josh. And it looks like at this point that we're going to have a cash surplus, a good-sized cash surplus this year, because so many things we were not able to do and we're not able to fund them. But we currently have a cash surplus as of the end of June of almost $85,000. Does anybody have any questions about this year's operations through the end of last quarter? Tom?
I'll wait till. Can you just give a clip note of the balance sheet for 2021, where we are with our reserves and cash balances? Just a quick overview. Thank you.
Yes. I was able to print out a copy of the balance sheet this morning. And again, this is as of the end of September. We had just under $188,000 in our checking account. We have several investments. We have one that is coming due to the tune of, it's actually $155,000, and it's coming due in December, so we will be discussing at the next council meeting what we want to do with that. So that would be coming up. And then we have another $300,000 in other investments. So our total checking and savings is over $654,000. We have a small note receivable, and then we have no debt. We are very, very blessed that we have no debt. So we have money in the reserves. If anybody would like to see a copy, I wasn't able to print this out, and it's really small. But if anybody wants any specifics on any of the particular budgets in here, I'd be happy to, let you know. The operating reserve budget is the bulk of it, and it's $250,000. We have estates, we have Bible funds, we have memorials. I will leave this available for anybody that wants to see it. If anybody wants me to email it to you, I'd be happy to do that as well. But this church is very, very blessed in that we do have enough cash resources to be able to make our operations. Yes, sir.
Chuck Alvey, just a clarifying question. The 2021 estimate column, just make sure I understand, that is, when you've looked at that, that's your projected.
Yeah, I haven't gone over
actual
that
for the
yet,
end of
but
the
yes,
year.
that is just projected based on what, the contributions are based on what's come in over the last 9 months, what we expect to get in the last quarter. And then the projected, the estimate, 2021 estimate, is based on what we've already spent, plus Sharice and I, again, a couple of hours on the phone, going over each and every line item, what we think we're going to be spending, things that she knows are coming up. There might be some unexpected things that do come up, and there might be some things that come up with the upcoming holidays that we don't have on here yet. But this is just a really rough idea of what we think we're going to have at the end of the year. You're welcome. All right. Now comes fun stuff. We have the 2021 approved budget, and next to that we have the 2022 proposed budget. Again, we prayerfully went over everything. We'll start at the top, and as I get through with a particular section, I will ask for questions. If there are any, please do raise them. Contributions. We do not see any reason why there's any indication that we would increase how much contributions are going to be coming in. Based on what we estimate coming in, is coming in under budget. So we did not see that it would be fiscally responsible for us to assume that contributions would be over the $600,000 that we had projected. So we are projecting flat amount for the contributions. Questions? Comments? Okay. We invite you to prove us wrong. No, I invite you to prove us wrong. This is the one thing that we can't control as a church council. We can't control how much money gets brought in. We can only control how we send it out. So if you don't think that we have enough money to spend, we would love to spend it for you. So please, give generously. Okay, church missions. We're expecting world missions to stay the same. We're hoping that community events out, which is for the outside community, to run about $4,300. We didn't spend it this year because we couldn't, but this year we're really looking forward to being able to spend that on the community. District assessment, district pledge, I think those kind of go without having any explanation. Luke's Helping Hands, that's something that we haven't contributed to for a couple of years, but that was requested by one of our church council members, and we all agreed that it would be something really useful to be able to contribute to them. And it's something that we have contributed to and been part of in the past. Stephen Ministries and the UNR Campus Ministry have been pretty stagnant, so we are anticipating spending $0 on that next year. Tutoring, we're good. We again, because of the COVID mandates, we haven't been able to reach out as much as we'd like, but we're anticipating being able to do that next year. Welfare discretionary, we're wanting $2,500 with your approval, and then fixed projects of $6,000. Are there any questions on any of the church missions that we are proposing? Oh, this is way too easy. See, there, now she raises her hand.
Nancy O'Brien, the fixed projects, is that like the shared harvest, and when they fall short, is that money used to purchase more food items for that?
I believe so, yeah, that's part of it. Not all of it, but part of it, yeah. It's just that, and it's really, you know, as the welfare committee comes in and says they need it, we just want to make sure that they have enough that they can spend, that they don't have to worry about coming back to either the council or the congregation to be able to do their duty, what they think needs to be done for the community.
Reese Chatfield. The fixed projects, Nancy, are OGT, Shared Harvest, and Mercy. And since OGT has disbanded and it went down. Each group had $3,000 previously.
Yeah, the orphan grain train is no longer, so, yes, unfortunately.
Unless you know of a 150,000 square foot warehouse, it would be turned back on.
Yeah. All right, we can go down to education, and we can go line item by line item, but I mean, you can all read. The scholarship, we're hoping to be able to give another $2,000 scholarships coming up next year. Adult study and membership, we think will be closer to $800, which is pretty much what it is for this year, at least year to date. Confirmation, we have a big confirmation class. And it's only going to get bigger. But we have allowed $700 for that. Home growth challenges. This is something that Pastor Josh has been wanting to implement for a while, and we're hoping to be able to launch that and expand it through 2022. So we've allotted $3,000 for that. The lay leader training, the PLI, the $1,250 is what we have already committed to paying for in 2022. It's something that's continuing. It's not new training. It's people that are already in the training program. Yes, ma'am.
Nancy Berndt, could you please give us an update on PLI?
I know nothing about PLI because I'm not involved in it, but I bet John could.
We do have that. Oh, I'm sorry, you have to switch it. Am I on now?
Can you turn number 4 on, Brittany, please?
Mine's on now. Nancy, we do have that where we're going to discuss the PLI at length a little bit later under old business.
Perfect, thank you. We do have 5,000 set up for the nursery. We have 5,000 for Odyssey. We weren't able to spend much this year, but we're hoping to be able to do that next year. Periodicals, Vacation Bible School, which we're looking forward to doing in 2022. So hopefully this $3,000 will make it a really, really nice big thing for the kids around here. And then youth. We are anticipating another $3,000 for youth because there is going to be the youth gathering this year, and we are wanting to make sure that any youth that want to go can go. We're hoping that this is going to be enough, that we don't have any fundraisers that they have to go through, a lot of hoops to go through, but having been a young person at one time and going to youth conventions, the experience is absolutely something that you can't put a price tag on. And so we, as a council, are committed to letting our kids go and having that wonderful time in the Lord.
Just be aware we've had 11 already signed up.
Wow, 11 have signed up. So this 9,000, we may be having to do fundraisers and digging, having little extra offerings and digging a little deeper. And if we ask that, I'm going to ask that you all dig deep because I know I'm going to be writing my check too, making sure those kids can go. Or if anybody wants to sponsor a child to be able to go. Oh, I see hands raising already. So as it gets closer, please, I know 2 people right now, I can tell you who they are. They're committed. I saw them. I think they're on video. So are there any questions about total education? Way in the back. Way in the back.
John Nimala. My question is, it's a new item. What exactly is home growth challenges?
I think the person who can best address that is sitting in the back, way in the back. That would be Pastor Josh.
Here, hey, Josh, maybe I can help you out here. So you know the periodical that came out, the document about Mark, the thing we did a couple months ago? Those are creating things for people who are in to be able to go out into their neighborhoods, their families, their friends, and move that message into the next tier. That costs treasure. So, close? Okay.
All right.
Does that answer, or does it help? No? That's what you get for going to
Yep,
going
he's
to
going to have
school.
to come down and mingle with the rest of us.
And you might as well stay down here, too.
Hello? Oh, wow.
Hey, there he is.
All right, you can blame John Numala for one more sermon. Just kidding, buddy. I got your back. Yeah, sorry, I was having my coffee upstairs. Anyway, the Home Growth Challenges came out of 2019, the Advent season, when we were trying to figure out strategically how to be a presence in people's homes while they're not able to be at worship in the building, because our numbers were going up for COVID, and it was looking like we might be doing Advent at home as opposed to here. We saw a really positive participation. If you guys remember, I got to come all the well, everybody knows what I like on video. It was really positive. You guys remember, we talked about traditions like the nativities, and we talked about the Christmas ornaments and the baking and all of those things to do at home with the people in your community. We did another one at Lent, which escapes me. What was that one called? I don't remember. It was the Lenten one. We're always onward, upward. So whatever happened last week, you push behind and keep going. But we did the 40 Days of Lent journey as well, where there was some Bible lessons to read over and then conversations to have. And then we did the next one over the Made for More with the idea of what has Christ made us to be in new creation. And we watched the Downton Abbey, expecting people to do these things. So they're doing them in their oikos, or they're doing them at home, they're doing them with their neighbors. And the one that we're doing right now is that Mark Growth Challenge, where we're challenging the congregation to dig deep and read their Bibles and spend time in the Word and in prayer, because what if we spent more time with Jesus? What might that change in our own lives, our perspectives, and in our church? Next year, we're going to be going over the Gospel of Luke. And so right now, I'm working through the lectionary readings for every Sunday, and I'm building a structure for the entire year to go through the Gospel of Luke. And I'm going to be teaching during pastor chats some evening, and going over that. But at home, I'm building right now for those. They're going to be called parable packs, because the Gospel of Luke is full of parables. And so I'm going to be grouping those parables into common teachings and weaving those together, and then you'll have some action things to do at home with those parables, learning and working through those with all ages. I'm going to have stuff for all ages in there as well. So this is things that you can take and be at home, growing personally in your context, because not everybody makes it to a Bible study. Not everybody can fit it into their schedule to be at a specific time. Oh, I was like, did it just get shut off because I was done? I was like, that's the way sermons go. They just shut my mic off. So that's kind of what the goal of those are, is to increase learning in your context with your people. So just a little change on education. Good? Excited? I know. I wasn't going to tell you because I still don't have it done yet. So now I've set the standard. This is what I'm trying to get in the next couple weeks.
See, there you go. Expectations are high now. Any other questions about education? All right. Worship arts. The only question, there was actually two questions that were brought up over the last couple of weeks since this was presented. The first one was the audiovisual. Why is it going up so much? Well, as we found over the last year and a half, there's all kinds of little snafus that happen with the audiovisual as we're trying to get everything broadcast on Zoom and on YouTube. So we have allowed a good portion of this to be for any kind of professional fees that come up. If something breaks down and we have to come back to the congregation to get approval for a $1,500 or $2,000 professional fees to be paid, then we're going to be without those services. So this is anticipatory. So we're hoping that we don't have to use all this $6,050, but we want to have it available so that if something happens, Brittany can call and get that fixed, and it's not completely seamless to those of us that are taking advantage and appreciating the audiovisual, and she's the only one who's going to be stressing over it. And now, and if you do approve this, she won't be stressing about the money part of it, just the getting it fixed part. The other question was about the handbells, and I've already gone over that just really briefly. $1,500 because they do need new tables. Next year, they're anticipating that they're only going to ask for $500. So this year, next year, going to be a little higher, so we can make sure that they've got the tools that they need, and then next year it'll go down. Questions?
I had someone asked me a question, so I'll just repeat it. The organ choir, the reason that has gone up is because we are doing the tuning of the organ. We don't do that every year. We do that periodically, and I think we're scheduled for that in 2022.
We are scheduled in 2022, and we don't know how much that's going to be. So we based it on what it was last time and then padded it a little bit extra. So hopefully, if it comes in the way it did, we'll actually have extra money that'll go towards reserves for next year. But we had to make sure that we had enough available so that we didn't go over budget. All right.
This is Jamie Graney. I just had a question. Friends of the Family gets $250. It's the lowest amount there.
That's what they asked for. The Friends.
I just see larger amounts for all the other groups and a mere $250 for Friends of the Family.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. So 250 is like what you get. You guys have asked for Song Select to get your music, so that's where that's coming from. But instead of taking out separate money for equipment from a Friends of the Family line item, I lumped that into AV. So if you need cords and microphones and that kind of stuff, that's going to come out of AV. We don't need to separate everything, of course.
Right, and obviously if you need that for AV, it's going to be used for more than just one purpose, so that's why it's grouped into not just...
Unless you put duct tape on it with your name on it, right? That's good.
I guess they could. Nobody can use this but Friends of the Family. No, not going to happen. Okay.
I know, I got rid of a cord one time.
All right. Congregational events, all the fun stuff that we do. Church-wide events in. We're anticipating spending the same as we were anticipating to spend this year. Communion, now that we're not having to have as many of the small containers, looks like we're asking for 1,000. We are over budget for this year, but because we didn't know what the governor was going to mandate for us, so we did spend a little bit more money this year on the individual cups with the wafers. We're not going to be needing quite as many as that since we're now going to the rail. Kitchen supplies, meals, sports activities, the welcome team. Actually, did we increase the sports? We did not. No. My eyes are crossing with all these numbers. Right. I guess we had 2 teams. Now we only have 1.
2 teams, and now we only have 1.
So we don't need as much money. Volunteer celebration. We haven't had a chance to celebrate our volunteers lately, so we definitely want to make sure that we give them a big blowout in 2022. And worship supplies, we're anticipating $4,000. Questions, comments? All right. Operating and maintenance, church-wide technology. We're anticipating $4,000. Again, a lot of that is for professional fees. We're not really anticipating having to buy a lot of office equipment, but we want to have that available. Facility maintenance, that's all Jim's. And what he's going to be, basically maintenance of the church, painting, making sure that things stay, light bulbs, those kind of things. Janitorial supply, we're anticipating $5,000. Marketing and communications, we're just bumping that up just a tiny bit. We haven't used it a whole lot this last 2 years because we haven't had a whole lot to market or communicate with other than to each other. So we want to make sure that we have plenty of funds available for Megan to be able to put on what needs to be put on. So we have $14,000 for her. And then we have the gas, van, insurance, tags, maintenance for the church van. We're not anticipating that to be going up. No hands? Good. All right, office business, a community church builder. We spent nothing this year, but we are anticipating spending that money before the end of the year, and then $2,800 again for next year. Copier costs, toner, paper, that kind of stuff. $2,000. Costco membership, got to have that. Who can live without Costco, right? Office technology, this is like for the server, that kind of stuff, making sure that the computers can talk to each other, talk to the server, everything is saved. We actually have most of our stuff saved to the cloud, but that costs money too. It's not, just because it says it's a cloud, it's not free. Professional fees, we expect those to go up just because we have some aging equipment, we don't know. Staff development, we want to make sure that if our staff needs training or wants training to do their jobs better, that we have the ability to send them. If we don't give our staff the education and the training that they need, they're not going to be as effective at their job, and we've just put some importance on that. And then we anticipate $5,500 for supplies, whatever that entails. Questions? It's exactly what we anticipated for this year, yes.
Thank you. Kathy Dickens. What is community church builder? I know it's not worth much, but I don't know what that is.
Charisse has a really good answer.
Okay.
Because she's raising her hand back there. Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead, Charisse, what was it again?
Here, hold on.
My
It's
St.
the
Luke's.
It's My St. Luke's. It's the
the
database
database.
that we use for your information and all the other groups. That's what it is.
And it costs money to keep that going. Okay. And then property requirements, insurance, taxes, and utilities. We expect the insurance to go up. Insurance always goes up. And especially with all the losses that the insurance companies have had over the last year, with all the local fires, we anticipate that will go up.
Okay. Part of that was, just so you're fully aware, we have a group that we believe is going to be going overseas this summer. And so one of that's gone up is a liability policy while they're there, not to protect them individually, but to protect St. Luke's. In the event there was something that happened and St. Luke's was brought into litigation, we felt it appropriate to take care of our assets to have a policy. So that's the plan.
Yes, that is correct. I'm sure you all know that there's been lots of discussion about a Holy Land trip in 2022. And if that becomes a reality, that some of this insurance money is going to go for that. Not that anything's going to happen, but we have, we need to be fiscally responsible with the assets that the church has. So we're going to be getting additional liability insurance if and when that time comes that we go on the trip. So, any other questions about insurance, utilities? All right, okay. Fun stuff. Staff. I'm going to preface this one by saying how we came up with the numbers that we came up with. It started with Charisse doing a study of salaries among other churches in the region, comparing similar job to similar job. Most of the churches were larger than ours, and we took that into consideration. We also looked at prevailing market rates, local market rates, Reno, Nevada. Some of our people were not making what a lot of people consider to be a minimum living wage of $15 an hour. That has been corrected. Okay? Now, I'm not going to go into details about who we think is not being paid enough and who isn't. But in order to pay people what they're really worth, we would be going in the hole. We did the best we could. Okay? So we are proposing paying the business administrator an annual salary of $55,000. The Christian education, which we'll be talking about later on as well, we rounded it up to $48,000 because your church treasurer, just that number was just like fingernails on a chalkboard. It didn't make any sense. We're going to pay you $47,227. No. The numbers just, yeah, they were just like I said, they just annoyed me. And it's just rounding it off, this makes it simple. We're going to pay you $4,000 a month. And this makes it nice and easy. The clerical administrative assistant is one of them that has been brought up to $15 an hour, as well with the custodian. The marketing communication is based on the job that they're doing, and we've proposed to keep it the way it is. An organist, somebody asked about this one. Why are we asking for more money for an organist when we haven't really used the organist much this year? Well, we haven't used them a lot because, we haven't had a lot of services. We haven't been able to. We are anticipating spending more money this year, and we're hoping that we can use an organist on a regular basis. And we're actually, I believe it was $110. Isn't that correct, Tom?
No, Tom Tiller, we're raising it. I think we were at $77 a service, and we are
raising it to 100?
5. But I thought with the CPI we went up. Anyway, okay, we're proposing $80 a service.
$80 a service. So the 110 was the number of services. So, okay. Right. We are proposing paying our pastor emeritus just a little bit more, rounding it off to a nice even number. I will pass over the payroll taxes until we've gone over the other two. Our senior pastor, we are anticipating, hopefully, with your approval, paying him $93,500. Relief help, and he doesn't like relief help. He likes being here. Okay, we had put in here $750. He says, I'm going to be here. And when he's not, Mike is always here, Pastor Mike. So we have brought that down to $500 per his request. And our worship arts leader, we are wanting to bring her salary up to $30,000. The payroll taxes, we have anticipated it going up quite a bit. But that's only because we don't know if our Christian education person that we bring on is going to be a called person or not. If they're not a called person, then we have to pay payroll taxes on their $48,000. So that's why it's so high. Next year, after they've been brought on, we'll be able to give you that number with a lot of certainty. But at this point, at least one person who's shown some interest is not called worker, and we would have to pay Social Security, Medicare type taxes for them. So we have to have that money set aside just in case. Questions about the salaries?
In the back, Bill.
John Numala. I have a question. We have been using a cleaning service for certain cleaning here at the church, and we have a new service, which I am thankful for the help.
I'm sure.
And I wonder where that expense is reflected in this budget.
Maintenance,
Under maintenance.
facilities maintenance.
It's going under maintenance, yes.
Yeah, it would not be under salaries because they're not church employees. We're not responsible for their payroll taxes. You know, they can have Jane Doe come in and do it 1 week and she quits, and next month they've got somebody else coming in. They're responsible for the payroll. They're responsible for the personnel. We just pay them, so they're an outside contractor.
Any other questions?
Any other questions about salaries?
And that outside contractor is, we got 3 proposals or bids from 3 different cleaning companies. And the least expensive one was the company we're already using to doing the sanitizing of the church. So they've agreed to come on board and clean the church, I think one day a week, I believe, and then they do their sanitizing after the services. So that, John, if that helps you,
Right.
an explanation of who they're going to be.
Right, and they'll be doing more of the hands-on cleaning stuff, so that will leave our custodian more as a supervisor to make sure that they're doing things correctly, and maybe just a little less labor-intensive, but there are no other questions about salaries. Let's move on before there are.
I was going to say,
Oh, I guess we did, I guess I did a good enough job
yeah.
explaining why,
Do we
you know.
have any other questions, comments, concerns?
Seriously.
Okay.
God, none, okay.
Going once.
Going twice, okay. Health insurance. Health insurance is available to our full-time staff only, okay? We don't provide benefits for part-time staff. So the health insurance is for Pastor and his family. It's for Charisse and possibly a Christian education person, okay, who can, you know, they can opt out if they already have coverage through a spouse or for somebody else, but we're anticipating that they will want to have the insurance coverage. And workman's comp, we're anticipating a $1,000 increase. It's probably not going to be quite that high, but with the higher salaries plus another person in there, we wanted to make sure that we had enough money set aside for workers' comp. Benefits and retirement, again, right now it is just Pastor Josh that gets benefits in retirement. We are anticipating that the Christian education person, if and when we hire them, will also be getting retirement.
I want to, this is Tom Tillot, I just want to clarify that. We'll be looking at that position, so these are all placeholders. If that position is not called, if they're a staff, then that retirement wouldn't kick in, they'd come under Social Security.
Correct.
And they would get the half insurance like our full-time staff does now. So it's a placeholder until we know where we're going. And until that, I mean, you're gonna hear about that later, but until that's done, we just got placeholders.
Right. Yeah, so when we pay Social Security and Medicare taxes, we do not pay for called ministers, okay? So if you're called, you go under a separate retirement plan. Okay, so it will be either or. So it's not going to be like, okay, we're going to have this big jump in the payroll taxes, plus we're going to have the retirement. They'll have one or the other. It was our goal to be fiscally responsible and not do the operations in the negative. That's a road to disaster. We don't believe that we should be digging into reserves for just everyday expenses. And we've got it down to $302 that we think, okay, it will be more than that. Oh, thank you. It'll be more than that probably, because like I said, we won't have both the retirement and the Social Security for the calls, you know, for the Christian ed person. We may not be paying quite as much in workers' comp. But we want to make sure that we've got the placeholder there so that we don't have to come back to you saying, we've had an emergency and we can't pay this without your approval. All right. So below the line, we do have a couple of items that we would like to use to be paid for out of reserves. The first one is a definite project that we want to go forward with, and it is the window replacement in the White House. There are 25 windows. We have several bids, and we have bid, just in case there's some bid overruns, we are proposing $20,000 to come from reserves. Now, remember, we have $600,000, so we've got plenty of reserves. That's what it's there for. And the other one says HVAC replacement if necessary. How old is the air conditioning system? 20, 25 years old?
40.
40?
40. We have
Oh,
a
heavens.
50-year-old roof and a 40-year-old HVAC.
Okay. I don't know about you. I'm a little bit older than 40, but I'm telling you, if I was an HVAC and I was 40, I'd be running on fumes.
So this is John McCrae. So we just got, Jim got our inspections done just this last summer. And as of right now, both of those inspections have come back as acceptable. Okay, so it's like buying a house, right? We just got an inspection and it was acceptable. So we want to make sure that there's a placeholder so that we come in on a Sunday and it's, there's icicles in the roof. We can call somebody and get it taken care of as fast as we can and as prudently as we can. The windows, Jim got a couple of bids. The first set of bids were just for a portion of the windows. But in light of anybody else who's budgeting, manufacturing, budgeting, trying to get things built, taken care of, or operated with, the supply chain issue is a real problem, and it is really affecting things in places in Reno. And the bids were, hey, you're here, can we get all of them done? And because we could get 12 windows done and then there might not be windows for 18 months. And we like the aesthetic of the White House, and if we're gonna do windows, you want them all done at the same time because paint number 7 is not the same paint number 7 2 years from now. So that's why that number's as big as it is.
And just to add to that real quick, we did get 3 proposals. At first, we were going to do just the windows on the south side. And when I say windows and we're describing that, it also includes the frames, the painting, the exterior, the interior, and all the glass. Everything will be replaced.
On 90-year plus windows.
Right. And it made more sense for us to do all of them money-wise than to do half and then come back 3 or 4 years from now and do the other ones.
Right,
So
and we also wanted them to all look the same. We didn't want to do half of them now, and then half in 2 or 3 years, and then they don't match. We want it to look nice. We want to make sure that our staff has windows that aren't going to bring snow in when we have snow in a couple of months. So that is what we're anticipating, and I said, it's probably going to come in under 20, but we wanted to make sure that we had enough that if there were some minor overruns, that we didn't go over budget. So this is I think it was the highest bid.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think it was 18,000. So this is we added another 10% just in case.
Yep.
So it'll probably come in less than that. But like I said, the HVAC, 40 plus years. Somebody told me that my heating was acceptable. I would probably be looking at replacing it. But like I said, we want to make sure that if something happens on a Monday, that we don't have to wait to call a meeting, and the meeting has to be 2 weeks' notice.
Yeah. And just so everybody knows, we're not. It's not like we called up, ServPro and said, hey, we got 40 grand for an HVAC job. This money below the budget line is strictly for, oh no, something bad, something catastrophic's happened. We got to get this fixed.
Yeah.
That's what that line item's for.
And next year, if we have a HVAC system that's 1 year older than it is today, this will be on there as a conditional line item next year as well. Okay? And it will be on there the next year until it gets replaced.
And then
Because
one
we
of those
want to
years
make sure.
we'll add the roof.
Yeah, and eventually the roof. Does anybody have any questions about anything on the budget? Or comments?
Morning, Buck Yeager. Do we still have in our professional services, do we still have an annual audit?
We do not have an annual audit, but we do have an audit. We have an audit review committee that looks at everything, and we don't have to have an annual audit.
No, I know,
we are
we
not
did
in a
have
position.
for a while, and I just wondered if we still did that or not.
We don't have an annual one, no.
Okay.
We probably should have one in the next couple of years, an outside audit.
Just real quick, we do have, Daryl Armuth has done it last year, and he's volunteered, and I talked to him already, and he'll be doing it again this year,
Good,
right after
great.
the first of the year.
Yes, it's more of a review, making sure that everything
Right.
looks like it's done the right
That
way.
works.
And he's very, very competent. And we've already gone over some of this stuff and looking forward to going over. We're going to be meeting every quarter
Thank you.
to go over things. And I've got a list of things that I want to have done. So we're,
Buck, he has a full committee, so it's not just Daryl by himself. He has a full committee that will look at all the finances of the church.
This is Ted Grady. I just want to compliment Kim and the entire council. I think this has been, excuse me, the most clearly expressed and explained budget that we've had in several years. It's made the meeting flow much more smoothly, and I think that you are to be applauded.
thank you. But a lot of the credit goes to these two gentlemen, this gentleman, Scott, who's probably watching on TV, on Zoom. Sharice in the back, the rest of the council. This was well thought out. We did. I mean, we met until almost 10 o'clock.
That was
For those that are on the council, the last meeting went until 10.
Five-hour council
We had a
meeting.
5-hour council meeting.
Nate Schober. I was just curious in regards to the HVAC and the roof for the White House coming up. Is there a capital construction section set up in the reserves for those expenses, or is it just one big lump savings that we address when we need to?
No, honestly, this would probably fall under the operating reserve. I mean, we have orphan grain train, that's gone. We're going to have to worry about moving that. I've got Sharice having her hand up in the back there. We have some other things that we're going to probably clean up and maybe move over to operating, and that's something that we'll probably talk about in the November, December, January meetings, so that we have it nice and clean for the next budget. But looks like there's a few things on here that maybe we don't necessarily need. Like I said, the orphan grain train, since it's on.
Nate, I think you're asking, do we have a capital expenditure budget? We do. That will be moved to that side. That's that report she's talking about.
Right.
Okay.
But it's going to come out of the reserves for the operations. We don't have like a reserve account. That might be something that we talk about in council, because like he was saying, the roof, we may take some of these things that we're not going to be spending money on, like the orphan grain train, and maybe setting that up for a future roofing project. And then maybe, if people want to donate to that, they can go into there and the money would be set aside.
Any other questions?
No other questions? Then this is our proposed budget.
Thank you, Kim.
We need a motion to approve, Sean, I believe.
Yes. We need a motion to,
Hold on, we got it.
oh,
Dave, to approve?
Yeah, Buck Yeager, I make a motion, we approve the budget. Is somebody else here? Oh, I'll do that too. So I'll second it. I'll do everything.
okay.
We'll second that.
Okay, all in favor of the motion at hand for passing of the
Approval of the
budget of
proposed budget.
2022. Yes. All aye? Any opposed? Thank you.
And I want to thank
Carried.
all of you. Really, it's your input, your thoughts, and your processes through this that help us, talking to us through the year, making sure your concerns are given to your elders, us on council, and all that. So it's a full team effort here. So thank you all for being here for that portion.
Hey, Sean,
Absolutely.
just get on the record, that was a unanimous vote. You can't see it because of the video, but it was a unanimous vote.
Okay.
I thank you all so much for approving the budget. And throughout the year, if you have any questions, concerns, recommendations, please give them to me, because next year, about August, September, we're going to start looking at these numbers for 2023. And your input is invaluable. I mean, knowing what you want for your church makes it easier for us as a council to put it together for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Ted, thank you for saying that. And I'd like to also say thank you to Kim and the staff and all of our council. We have really attempted to make this really transparent for everybody. So thank you for saying what you did. We did spend an awful lot of time on this, so especially Kim. Thank you. So I would like to just give an update on what's happened at the church and through the council since our last meeting in June. Let's see. So items that we have done and opening the church back up to different areas and different people is what I'm going to just talk briefly about. So we prepared the church for the back to school. Our ministries kicked off with the Odyssey, the confirmation, Bible studies in the building. Pastors' home growth challenges and outside groups were welcomed back into the building. The back stairs to the White House excuse me, have been replaced and the job is completed. The Legacy Giving Program was established and approved that we heard about earlier from Janet. The CNH District, Mercy Ministries, OGT, Veterans Prayers and Squares, members of St. Luke's we're all supporting the Dixie and Greenville fire victims, and I don't think Pam is here. I know Chuck is, but I wanted to personally thank her for everything she has done. She's done just a fantastic job and that's a huge undertaking. So thank you to Pam. And to all the generosity from everybody here that's made that program. Okay. Great. And then, so that was items that we took care of in July and August, and since then, well, actually this happened in the summer too. Our youth had a great trip on a houseboat in Lake Shasta, and Christy was a big part of that. What happened? Did you forget your mask? The youth group and their leaders, Teresa, Bill Schmauder, and Christy Spiker, are preparing for the LCMS National Gathering in July of 2022 in Texas. Also, as we saw today, which is great that we have our choir back again, they've started up again, and they sang last week at the Reformation service. We also hosted, St. Luke's did the PLI, the D2CM West Coast group here at St. Luke's. We had large numbers of people that attended our roots classes with new members transferring in and joining our congregation. And I think we see from the parking lots today that we're definitely growing, coming back. The town hall meeting was well attended. Trunk or treat, as was mentioned earlier, we had 600 plus participants in that, which was fantastic. Pastor Josh is holding the Pastor's Chat weekly from Home Growth Daily Bread. And one thing that's, I guess, a plus, but it didn't start off that way, is when our mailbox was broken into, unfortunately. And Sharice wanted me to mention when it was vandalized, we decided to make a move to get a post office box. So if anybody doesn't have that information, please contact Sharice and she will email it to you or give it to you for our new mailing address. We felt it best to go to the post office box to just secure it, so we didn't have to deal with that anymore. Our weekly attendance, like I mentioned a second ago, is definitely growing. And we're going to talk briefly in a minute about the fact-finding committee that we established to discuss the new person we're going to be hiring, and I'm going to have Vicki talk a little bit about that. So that's kind of a brief, quick rundown of what we've done since June, since our last meeting. Does anybody have any questions or anything in regards to any of that? Just a quick little update. Okay, well, at this time then, I would like to ask Vicki to come up, and I think Christy's part of this as well. They're going to give us a brief rundown of what we've done so far with the first committee, and then we're going to start forming another committee, and also make Mike that guy, right? Mike has decided to head that committee as the chairperson for it, and then Vicki and Christy are going to help him with that. So I'll turn it over to Vicki.
Thank you for hanging in there all this time. Yes, we had this committee that was formed to determine from the congregation what you felt our needs were to fill the position that's been vacant since the departure of our last DCE. And that has been put on hold partly because of COVID, so it's been a few years since we've had no one in that position. So we had 6 members from various ministry groups on the committee, and we sent out a congregational survey. We got 70 responses with recommendations for what we might need. So we came up with a list of qualifications for a person to fill this position, and there were 5 different points. The first is we'd like the person to have a strong Lutheran Church Missouri Synod background in doctrine, theology, and tradition. Second, we would like the person to have a mission mindset to build programs for the church and reach out to the community. We would like this person to nurture church-wide community among all age groups, and especially to have interaction among those various age groups. The person will coordinate Christian education for members of all ages, and we like this person to be outgoing, self-motivated, and have a servant mentality. And this is not what we want, this is what you want according to the surveys. So if anybody has any questions or comments on this position, please feel free to speak up right now. Well, we are purposely leaving that a little bit undetermined because we want to have a person who is well qualified, and so we are open to various different position names. It could be a youth pastor, it could be a DCE, it could be someone who maybe has been a Lutheran school teacher who is interested in the job. We didn't want to rule out any candidates that are brought up from the congregation or self-nominated that would be on the list by saying, yes, we only want a DCE. We want to have the best person who is going to fill our needs. Is that Rachel back there? Oh, I can't see who that is. Okay. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Hi, Kimberly Dixon. It was on a second ago. No, I didn't push anything.
She's a mic pro. She can deal with it.
Who would be the person to talk to get more detail about this potential position?
Well, the first thing we need to do is for you to vote on forming a search committee. And then you could come to the committee somewhere, and we have not unearthed this yet, but I'm sure it'll be easy to get. We had the job description from our DCEs in the past, and that's will all be formulated by this search committee.
Okay. As you were listing the qualities, couldn't help but think that I fit a lot of those. So I'm curious about what that would entail and see if that could potentially be something I would be interested in. So thanks.
You can put your own name on the list.
Please do.
Nancy Burnt. I'm wondering if, in 25 words or less, you could define what our needs are. What are we specifically looking for that you have determined those qualifications for?
Well, I think I just read our list. Christy,
you read qualifications.
Right.
Are we looking for somebody in education? Are we looking for anybody in, please expand on that. I mean, to look for somebody in education is very specific, but I think you have expanded on the qualifications beyond education, so.
Well, the principal need was identified as education.
Okay.
So that would entail everything from Odyssey, perhaps a nursery program, the youth, confirmation, Bible study, and all of the things that fall into the educational umbrella.
So
That
that's
we've had a tremendous group of volunteers who have been holding down the fort, and in fact, building the fort higher, to be honest, doing a great job, but we don't want to have these people burning out. We want to have support and coordination from a paid staff person to help these people and give them support in their volunteer works and to lead. Does that help?
I guess so.
Well, so we want the education. That was the main area. But we went beyond trying to determine what kind of person would be the best to fill this need.
I guess perhaps what puzzles me is why we can't seek a person with an education background more directly.
More what?
More specifically.
Can you take your mask off just for a minute, please?
Be happy
Thanks.
to. It seems to me that we're being more nebulous in locating that person rather than just, couldn't you just find a person with an education background that speaks to the Lutheran needs that we have?
Well, the search committee will do that. We will get, every call process has people, from the congregation that can submit names. People who feel like they're qualified can come forward. We have several people in the congregation who are qualified to fill this position, and we can also get names from the district who are people who are looking for a DCE position or a youth pastor position. And the first qualification was to have a LCMS background in doctrine, theology, and tradition, that educational component in their own background to come here. For example, there are people, I can think of a person, none of you know him, that's a young man of 40 years old, and he's been very active in youth ministry up at UNR, but he's not a Lutheran. So the committee felt that a person who didn't have that Lutheran background would probably not do the job that we're looking for them to do here.
Okay, thank you, that helps me.
Sure.
Maybe just to clarify a little more, we didn't want to get, for lack of a better word, boxed into, like we've always done a DCE, or it has to be a call. We wanted to leave it open, the committee wanted to leave it open, in case there's someone that is not a called worker that may be perfect for St. Luke's, or the committee may determine that's not there, and we're going to make a call to a DCE or a whatever. They wanted to keep it flexible because our needs are pretty varied in the things we want done. So we wanted the group, and I think I support that, wanted to keep it open. Does that help? I hope.
Another point that was made in one of the committee meetings is that the committee seemed to feel that the best choice perhaps would not be a DCE intern or a vicar, because they come here, and if they're from another part of the country, they want to go back to where they were from. It could be a short-term duration, and we would like to have somebody who will have some staying power as well. But we don't preclude that either. Christy, do you want to add anything?
No, I'm just here to support.
To look beautiful. Yeah, the blonde and the brunette. Any other questions or comments? Well, we may be, your guess is as good as mine. But I think personally, I would be happy if we have somebody to start the year next September, by next September. Right now, we need for you somebody to move that we have, make a motion to have a search committee formed.
This is Jenny Tallur. I'd move that, or make a motion that we, what's the words? Thank you. Establish a search committee for the person that Vicki is describing.
To fill the staff position. That's, yes.
Last meeting, we had it approved for the money, so we're kind of just trying to follow
Yeah.
the channels we have to all along. And we finished, the first committee did their job the last couple of months, and now we have to get this approval from this meeting to go forward.
This is Ted Graney. I'll second the motion.
Thank you. All in favor? Say aye. Nay? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, and I'd just like to thank all the people who served on this committee. It was headed by Teresa Schmauder, and to Pastor Josh, Sharice, Julie, and Megan for all that they did in disseminating information and compiling things and just being their usual wonderful selves in the process. Thank you.
Sean, hey, so Sean, Pastor just reminded that this committee will be looking for names, getting recommendations, vetting all that, and then ultimately we'll come back to the congregation with a recommendation. Did I get all that?
So at this juncture, since it wasn't in the motion, the church council is going to have to pick a number of people to serve on that search committee with these three. And then they will be getting those information for names from all of you along with the district and bringing those all in and going through a process of interviewing once they have a job description and returning back here to the congregation to present that for a call vote or something like that when candidates are presented. And that could take a little bit.
John, you got a mic back there?
Oh, Hal has one.
I just want you to, they can't see our hands, so you have to say it was a unanimous vote, like that many people.
I thought I did, didn't I? Well, motion carried. Unanimous, I'm sorry, yeah, I didn't say that. So that was unanimously passed. I'm trying to get these in for, the hands in for the video. Okay, great. Thank you, Vicki and Christy. So going a little bit forward on, oh, there you go, on our old business. In our June meeting, a couple things came up, and I wanted to make sure if the people are here that brought these topics up, that let them know that it's not just hanging out there. We have two things. One is it was brought up at our June meeting about the photo directory. And honestly, I have to say that it was briefly talked about, but we didn't go too much forward since our meeting the last couple of months had been really all about masks and the budget. So now I assure whoever it was that brought those up, and those are in those minutes, we're going to address those now. We have time going forward. Hopefully we can get this, our photo directory updated, and we can get enough people to participate in that and come to the church to do that. So we'll probably do that right after New Year's. Another one was the Bibles and hymnals are still not here, and the reason for that is just because our numbers are still high. We've still decided to not put them out in the pews for that reason, for COVID, and at least until we get the numbers go down, rather than trying to attempt to clean them every service on that. Pastor?
Sorry, I'm going to give you updated information.
Okay.
So actually, as we get ready to join in the Advent season, our Wednesday night Advent services are going to be here at what time? I don't want to make it up. 6 o'clock, thank you. And those will be out of the hymnal. So between now and then, Cherie still needs the volunteers to come and to do the wiping, because we can't have the spray guys come in because that gets the spray all over our paper books, so that's not going to work out. But they will be back, and on Wednesday nights, we will be using the hymnals for our Vesper services throughout Advent and then into Lent as well. So
great.
Coming around the corner.
Okay, thank you.
Vicki Benke. Could we, since there aren't really a great number of people, could we just get hymnals out and check them out to the people every week and let them keep them for the entire Advent season, bring them back, and then just clean them at the end? I mean, that
I would think so.
might be easier, or maybe not.
Just a different kind of work. That'll be scheduling, organizing, filling out, and making sure we keep a track of everybody or wiping them down. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Right.
But yeah, absolutely, we could talk about it.
Sure,
Council.
absolutely.
We could get
Definitely.
that planned. We have a worship chair, so that'll be just perfect.
Right, great. Pastor, don't go away, because I'm going to ask you to, as part of old business too, we talked a few minutes ago about this, and it was brought up again at the meeting for the PLI.
Oh, yeah, PLI.
And the PLI was brought up at our last meeting as well. And there is some question, it was brought to my attention again a few days ago, that some people would like to just have a description from Pastor exactly what that is.
Thank you. So PLI, we've talked about it different times about its origin and what it is, but what is it actually doing, I feel like, is the nature of the question, like why are we doing this? So I'm actually going to hand it over to John, because John has been in it for a year and a half with me, and he and Sarah have been a part of that. We have 9 people who are in it, journeying through that, and he'll give you a description of what we're learning as a layperson. So that's, I think, going to be more profitable. So go ahead, John. And what it means in application.
Sure. John McRae. So Josh asked myself and my wife, Mary Marcus Culpepper, Randy and Laura Pierce, and Danica Neal in Carson City, and Miss Brittany Brown. So they're the 8 of us, plus Josh makes the 9. And we were asked of this because when we started this journey with Josh 6 years ago, the up in and out survey and everything else, we started Oikos groups, and we started to create this vision of in with the group, up to God, but out, right? The Great Commission. In that journey, we were asked to be a part of this group, and it basically comes down to the very beginning part of this was Pastoral Leadership Institute, and it was basically pastors in the Lutheran Church could go and get continuing education units, right? Well, I don't know about you, but they're not pumping out pastors, and churches aren't popping up all over the place. But there are a set of individuals that are in the flock that share the same vision of spreading the love of Jesus out into the community. And part of that comes to this group has created a program for lay people and called staff to come together and go through a training program, training process on what it looks like to create missional fields and missional groups, oikos groups, coming together and trying to figure out, hey, I'm not the only one struggling with how do I lead a group? How do I make a vision statement? How do I create a culture in my own family, my wife and I and our 3 children, so that when we are out with people of peace, that's a buzzword, people of peace, people who, they're the seeing-ears. They go to church on Christmas and Easter, and Jesus is from some 70s song, This is me and my buddy, right? Those people need to hear the word of Jesus and the word of God in their lives in a true practicality. One of the numbers that is very jarring is the millennial group and the zennial group, the group after, right? Because, no offense, the millennials are having children, okay? They're in their 30s. They're in their, I was born in 79, so I'm still in the cool group. But the point of this is that it's to develop a message into a group of people in society who don't have a Christian in their life that they respect. Because we are all hypocrites and don't own it among them. They've been told what a Christian is for their entire life, and then they run into one and they go, why would I want to be like that? That guy's terrible. They meet me, I admit I'm terrible. But you want to come over and have barbecue? Do you need help with your lawn? Do you need help with this, help with that? Come walk this road with me in all of my mud and my muck. And it builds to those characters and those people to have the 8 of us doing that in our lives so that we can bring our neighbors in, so that the neighbors across the street start coming to church, get their youngest baptized at a church campout. If all it brings is the 9 of us come together and we just bring one more person to God through his help, then it's worth it. But all of that speaks to what PLI is as like a giant structure of there are people in churches who need to be empowered to be able to be confident in sharing that love and hope of Jesus Christ. Josh went to school for 4 years and went to seminary and got that hammered in, and then came out into the real world and has learned so much between now and then, and still can confidently go into a room and tell that to people. I can go tell that to the people because I love talking to everybody. Just ask my wife. She's like, you left me again at the side of the party. But I'm going to bring my wife up because she's been in this process, and I've watched her grow in her faith and in her confidence, and she has gone into groups, and she's gone into homes, and she's gone into rooms, and she has been I'm going to probably start crying.
Yeah, that's what happens when you get up here.
I'm so proud of her but she has grown in that ability. So now she's administering to the teachers at her school, the neighborhood kids, the wives. It's amazing. Other people, like, she hasn't even recognized that she's always been capable of that. And this group and plugging into other people once a week has given her the confidence to do that. So PLI is, when we're done in a year and a half,
1 more year,
we can confidently go into these ministry fields. And not only that, but then be capable of, hey, I'm going to bring 3 or 4 people from this congregation, and we're going to start meeting, and I'm going to take you through the process. And those 3 or 4 hopefully do this, it just balloons out of there. So
we go to 5 immersions over the course of 2.5 years, and then every week we meet for an hour and a half with huddles, breakout coaches every single week, and talk through what's going on, the highs, the lows, the people of peace, all the tools and how they're being implemented in life. So that's what he meant by the plugging in once a week. So is there any questions about PLI? This is the stuff I'm happy to answer because this is big and important stuff. Or you can just see me afterwards, or invite me out for coffee, or meet me at the office. I think that answers it.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
Thank you, guys,
John.
very much. Appreciate that. We're almost done. So, yeah, thank you, guys. So I have only one item of new business, and that is our stewardship position on council has been vacated by Bill Heineke for personal reasons. We're going to be looking to fill that position. So I do have one person that's already come forward to do that, which is just fantastic. He's got history in it. And if anyone else would like to fill that position on council, please get a hold of me because we will be filling that position at our next council meeting. I'm sorry? The stewardship committee person? How about if I let the stewardship person discuss it? Would you like to? Who's been there before? Daryl?
Hold on a minute.
That's a loaded. I really don't know fully what the stewardship position does. When I first joined, it was pretty much a dormant position, but the idea is to oversee to make sure the assets in the church are being administered correctly. That's what I was told. And with this new lifetime, this new planned giving, that's a big part of the stewardship role. So that's all I know.
A few other things would be like the activities of the church, with the trunk or treat program we just had, it all falls under the stewardship. For events and kind of the fun part of things that we do as a group is also into that as well. Pastor, did you want to add to that?
I don't think I need to. It just makes it go longer.
Okay. So
I would
anyway,
like to,
okay.
don't get me wrong, but
Any,
I will not.
Any other questions or comment? That's the only thing I had for new business. So we'll be going forward with that right after the first of the year and then getting that position filled. Any questions at all? I'd like to make a motion that get a motion that we adjourn. Or, oh, that's what sorry, I didn't describe it. Is there any new business? Yes.
Take this off. Nate Schober. I know in the June meeting, it's in the minutes, we had previously put together a committee to look at putting in a school, or the feasibility of putting in a school. And from my understanding, due to incredibly horrible timing and the pandemic starting and all the, everything is closed, you can't do anything in person anymore, the committee didn't really have a chance to meet together and like in person, and basically what happened was, from my understanding anyway, because of the pandemic and everything, there just wasn't the interest of going forward with that because it was too complicated with the pandemic to make everything work. So I was kind of curious, especially now with all the curriculum changes that are happening in the public school system across the nation. Is it still something that St. Luke's would like to look into to start a school in order to bring up the children of St. Luke's and the community in a Christian-focused environment as opposed to letting other people decide what to teach our children? So that is what I would like to bring to the table.
Okay. First of all, it was changed in the minutes from the last meeting of that description, and I think Chuck could probably, he was on that committee, and he spoke at that meeting, and it was one of the corrections in our minutes that stated that it was not, we said that it was due to COVID, however, it wasn't. It was strictly because of lack of interest is what really made it, I believe. And perhaps Chuck could describe it maybe a little bit more because he was on that committee.
Nate just asked lack of interest from who as a qualifier.
Well, that's all, I like him to, this is just what was relayed to me.
I'm getting it on record.
Oh, okay.
I dropped off chairing the committee because frankly, there wasn't time based on the incredible diversity of opinion of what should happen. It was, rather than being an overview, high-level discussion of whether we should consider a school, and we did a lot of research on other schools and systems, it got down into what time is recess, who are the teachers, where's this going to happen, I want it this way, I want it that way. And if we were going to try to do it that way, it became something that was a burden that I wasn't able to, in my time and my schedule, able to do. So the high-level part, that's why I stopped and asked if someone else could step up. No one else did. So I apologize for not being able to fulfill it. But the direction it was going was not something that was just reasonable to do. It was getting into the muck and the mire and not at a very high level, and I could not keep it up there, so I had to move on. Hope that helps.
Maybe I can add a little more. Paul Maurer did, after Chuck was not able to move forward, Paul Maurer did take the committee, I believe had a committee, and what I understood, and Scott Gross knows it a lot better than I do, and unfortunately Scott's not here because he's in Las Vegas. He understood was that there was not interest of the committee and did not have anything to do with COVID. There was no interest moving forward. I will, to Chuck's point, the council, one of the things the council asked for from both committees is wanted a financial overview of what this would look like financially. We felt, and I led some of that was an important part of that. So if we, from my perspective, we are going to move forward to look at it, that's a key component, is the financial impact to St. Luke's and how that would work. That's it. Other than that, that's all I have to say.
Does that answer your question on that?
It does, but it also still leaves the discussion open more with the new changes. It does answer the questions, but at the same time, it's it sounds like the committee was just going like really deep into detail instead of starting at the top and working down and going through the process kind of a thing, and it just burnt out the committee. So it still is, do we want to do a school and like go through the steps and not, okay, well, we're gonna start a school, so recess is at 3:15. But where in town would it be, how much would it cost, all that stuff, and start at the top and then work down, or bottom and work up, however you wanna do it.
Your first question, what you need to be able to make a motion, if you want to ask, does the congregation want to fill in the blank? But if you want to move this forward, you make a motion, then the group will discuss it and create a way forward.
I thought discussion was before the motion. Okay, so then I would
After the
like to make a motion to revisit the prospect of starting a school for St. Luke's and putting together a committee to do so.
Call for the vote.
No, we need a second.
Oh, sorry, second. Brittany Brown with the
Brittany?
second. Okay, call for the vote.
Well, is any other discussion? Any discussion on that motion? Yes, Chuck?
Whether or not we want to talk about it.
I think when you get together and talk about it, determine the level you're going to do. We try to determine what we were going to try to do at what level. We brought in tons of research when all over the place tried to find out what kind of school, because there's so many variables in this thing. So it's like the DCA, Vicki and her committee and Christy did a great job to find what you want up front out of the details and see where that leads you if you go that way. But if you're going to get into those kind of details of what grades it's going to be and how many teachers and how many students per classroom, you're going to get bogged down. But if you keep it at a high level, you're going to have success.
Any other discussion on the motion? Yes. Barb?
Hi, Barb Yeager. I think first, before you start discussing all those small details, you need to have a legitimate survey or something with the congregation, finding out if the congregation is even interested in looking into having a school. I mean, there's no point going forward and doing a lot of other research if the congregation is not going to support it.
Yeah, it was like 2 years ago. There was a unanimous vote by the this body to pursue a committee to look into the whole thing. So,
Right.
yeah. So, yeah, if you want to amend that to, I mean, just those first pieces, do that. But yeah, you're just asking people to get some information. That's really what we're talking about.
Would you like to amend your motion?
What was just brought?
To be basically a committee, a search or
To add detail to what the committee would look
yeah,
into?
just to see if, like what Barb was saying, if the interest is there, but just start the motion to where we can get started on it and look into it.
Yeah, so amend the motion to look into high-level details as to if there is a need in our community for a school, and then high-level details as to
St. Luke's interest
St. Luke's interest, yes.
in developing that ministry.
What he said.
You're welcome for you lunch eaters.
Okay? Right. Brittany, you good with that for your second? Yes, I second. Okay. Any other discussion?
I have a question. So does that include a financial analysis as part of that high-level discussion?
It could.
Schools are overcrowded, so the first answer is a yes. So, I mean,
Yes, financial.
Under discussion, I feel strongly that a financial analysis has to be part of that overview.
Yeah.
Vicki, you had your hand up.
I think maybe before we do the financial analysis, we need a survey to see if the congregation is going to support it. Because if that answer is no, then it doesn't seem a prudent use of time to go through all the other financial analysis and all the other detail. So to me, I think that would be the first step.
Okay, you're looking at two different things here, and I think you're conflating them. One is the interest the congregation has, which doesn't necessarily transform to financial support. This financial support usually comes from the tuition of the kids that go to the school. So you have to have some kind of idea how many kids might go to the school and how many teachers you have. You need to do that calculation too. So when Tom says, hey, you need to talk about the financials, absolutely. Because what typically happens is these schools are run by the tuition, and when the tuition falls short, if it does in fact fall short, then it has to come out of the church budget. So you want to understand that when you undertake this.
Could you also give, for the record, your name?
Yes, my name is Scott Cantachesi.
Thanks, Scott. Any other discussion on the motion we have? Oh, one more.
Hang on.
Andy Walt, I think that the impetus of this has to come from the parents in the congregation that have children that would attend that school. I think they are the ones that should form a committee and present to the congregation a realistic program. To me, I think the best we could do here is kind of have a hybrid between homeschooling and regular full-scale school operation, just in the number of children and everything like that. But I think it has to be the parents that would want a school that have to get together and find a reasonable path to build that
Thank
school.
you. Any other discussion on the motion?
Okay, we'll do a vote on the motion on the floor. Everyone understand the motion? Reread. Can you do it one more time? And then
the motion is to put together a committee to look into the needs of, if there is the need for a school, how much it would cost to start up a school, and I forgot the last part. Interest from the church, thank you.
And
I already said that.
right. Okay. Ready for a vote? All in favor of that motion, signal by raising your hand. Say aye. Opposed? The motion did not carry. In the other new business, John.
I make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
Okay. Well, I think we're right there. I do have to apologize. Oh, wait, we do have a Jim. Jim has a question. Oh, you seconded it? Okay. I want to apologize for not getting the new business out. And I have to say, normally I'm not in this environment for my meetings. I'm usually with a room full of truck drivers. And they're not near as nice as you guys are. So I apologize. So we have a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Good. Pastor? You okay? If you can, if you want, absolutely. All right.
And we're going to adjourn with the Lord's Prayer, and then we'll leave with the benediction because we are Lutheran and we do like our traditions. So, Lord, remember us in your kingdom and teach us to pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Praise God, from whom all blessings flow. Praise him, all creatures here below. Praise him above, ye heavenly host. Praise Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Amen. And you're all invited to the choir Wednesday, 5:45. Go in peace. Serve the Lord.